inevitable fact is that now hybrid working will be a reality for most of our colleagues across the sector, and it's something that's going to bring about a seismic shift in the way that we operate, the way that we communicate with each other, and the way that we interact with work. And I think now, having spent decades and possibly even longer establishing the principles and the protocols for office working, now we need to think about what it means to be in a remote team, in a hybrid team, rather than just move to a rota of on-site and off-site, because that won't maximise the advantages and runs the risk of almost being a hybrid light scenario. What we actually need is to consider how this impacts on us as individuals, how this impacts on the work we do, and what we can do as professionals within the service to get the most out of this opportunity. So I think the first thing I would say as managers is you need to give some thought to how you're going to approach this, talk to your teams, think about the nature of your business. Not hybrid working won't work for everybody, it won't be one size fits all, but certain teams will be able to be more or less hybrid, because this is a chance for us to readdress work-life imbalance and make the higher education professional service an even more enjoyable place to work. So talk to your teams, establish what they want, establish what there is within your boundaries that you can offer, and come to an agreement about what works best for on-site and off-site working. For team members, equally, be prepared to accept the advantages and disadvantages that come with remote working. Talk to your line manager, talk to your colleagues, and try and establish what good practices will be in terms of working from home. So that again, it's not just that you're sitting in a different location, because that doesn't take full advantage of the opportunity you've got. The second thing I would say is about management in particular. For managers, I think the skill to manage a hybrid team is something that most managers never needed before, and now almost all will. That's something that isn't just going to happen. It's something that needs some consideration, needs some thought. Have a talk with your peers, speak to other individuals around the organisation, look at the many articles and books that are being written about this topic, and think about how you're going to approach managing a hybrid team. I think we need to move away from the model where the value of individual members of the team was badged as their productivity. It needs to be about outputs rather than the perceived work that an individual is doing. People will be less visible. Members won't be in the offices anymore, so that you might not be able to see how much work they're doing. And I think there's a real moment here to demonstrate the trust that managers have in their teams. If you're unable to trust your team to work remotely, then I think your problem is with your team rather than with remote work itself. So let's empower our teams, let's trust them to work, and let's ensure that they're able to demonstrate their value in a new environment where people will be less visible. Establish what the protocols and the principles are around methods of communication. Early on in the pandemic, I can't have been the only one who became almost overwhelmed with the different channels of Teams and Zoom and Slack and email, text, phone. We need to establish what they are all purposeful for, what communication we can get out of them. What is a Teams message? What is an email? Something that's less urgent, possibly. What actually demands a meeting and what doesn't need a meeting, because we don't need to have a meeting for everything. What ways can we ensure that we recreate the open plan office? Do we have wide Teams channels that we communicate through, which enables other people to see what their colleagues are talking about? Managers, talk to your teams, establish those protocols, make sure everybody's working in a way that they feel comfortable with. Equally, team members, try and use the advantages that there are in Teams and Zoom and other video calling platforms to make sure that you're able to touch in with people. It is harder to call someone on Teams or to set up a Teams meeting than it is just to wander over to their desk, but it's something that we need to make sure we're able to do, and it's important to remain visible. That means that you might want to inform your manager of what you're actually doing so that they're able to tell. Again, because you won't be in the same room, you might not even be in the same building. The fourth thing that I would say we should consider is about equality and the fact that not everyone has access to the same digital tools. There will be, I think, in most places, senior colleagues will have laptops and mobile devices, whereas perhaps junior colleagues don't. And perhaps it wasn't traditionally required in their role,
but now it can be a barrier to remote working. So let's try and address those things and ensure that everybody has the same equality of opportunity and possibly the same equality of experience where possible as well.
There's evidence to suggest that working fathers are more keen to return to the office than working mothers. And we need to ensure that as managers, we need to ensure that whatever is put in place to enable hybrid working within our teams is also equal. And that might not necessarily always be what individuals themselves want. We need to be aware that individuals who would rather be working from home more than others are not therefore slipping off the radar, are being seen, and their value is being understood. Also bear in mind that not everyone's domestic situation is the same, and there may be some colleagues who want to work on site 5 days a week. Again, that's something that we should support and make sure that there is the opportunity for everybody to demonstrate their value to the team and to succeed, rather than the traditional measures that we may have had.
The final thing I would say that is important to pay attention to is our use of space and how we occupy it and how we get the most out of it. So where possible, if managers are able to have some input into the use of their space, do we still need the traditional office setups? Do we need as large a footprint? Are we able to reduce office size and perhaps turn the freed up space into a more pleasant working environment, cafe style seating to allow the ad hoc and creative meetings to take place? Are we able to give it over to other crucial university functions such as student study space? All of these things can be positive outcomes of hybrid working, but shouldn't be the drivers. Equally, as members of teams, we need to think about what we're prepared to give in terms of the take that will come with hybrid working. So there are many opportunities involved in remote working, hybrid working, working from home. The consequences of that might mean that not everybody has a permanent desk on campus. And I think the give and take has to be there within teams. So talk to your line managers, talk to your colleagues, and line managers talk to your teams. As I say, they're not tips, they're just starting points for discussion. I would encourage managers to talk about these things with your teams, talk about them amongst yourselves in teams, and hopefully we can make the most of this potential advantage that there is for hybrid working and a new way for us as a professional service across higher education to work.